Hey yo, how's it going? This is gonna be my first video about why am I moving so much? It's weird. Real take here. All right, so sup YouTube. This is your boy Mo, or Alias if you want to call me by my username, whatever. This video is gonna be about showing you my room pages and my builds and why I go these builds, and maybe share this information with you, and hopefully you can learn something or two. So before we get there, I just want to say that yes, I am Emerald 1. I know I ain't no challenger, hop off. But I think for the fact that I've been playing Azir since season 8, I think I do have the right to give, a small piece of my mind to the greater world in terms of Azir. So let's get started. So I said let's get started, but before even we do get started, just want to say that Azir is extremely complicated. Back in the day, he used to be complicated mechanically, even more than now. But now Azir is not that mechanically complicated in my opinion, but Azir is very complicated in terms of items and room pages. And that is the thing that I'm still learning about, but I just wanted to codify what I've been doing so far in terms of my success on Azir, and he's been so fun to play this season. Oh my goodness, the removal of mythic items, and now the plethora of room pages. I think Azir has the most amount of diversity in terms of room pages out of any champion I've ever seen. It's actually crazy, and they all work, some more than others, but we'll get to that really soon. So soon as in right now. So let's get started. So there's not one good room page that you could take every game all game long. Well, you have to take it all game long, but what I mean is you can't take the room page every game, the same one. Azir is very, very diverse. Some team comps, you have to take one room versus the other. So let's get started. This is precision. This is what Azir used to take most of the time, even last season, but now it's been diversified to more room pages. But anyway, for precision, this room page is really, really good into team comps that are mid to low range. They do not have a lot of get on you tools, or they have a lot of health. So for me, Lethal Tempo has been a lot more successful than Conqueror. I think that Lethal Tempo offers, obviously the attack speed, but the attack speed is so much nicer for me personally than Conqueror. I feel like every time I've taken Conqueror, I feel like I'm shooting myself in the foot, if that makes any sense. So I'm taking Lethal Tempo, which is much better for me personally. I've been getting a lot of success with it, with the builds that I'm gonna be showing you soon. Now, you're probably saying, hold on, my nose is itchy. You're probably saying, well, what about fleet footwork? What about that? Don't you ever take that now? Well, I actually gave up on fleet footwork because of grasp, which is what we're gonna talk about in a bit. But yes, I think fleet footwork is just useless rune for me. I think it's a bait rune because it doesn't go well with the rest of the precision tree, precision of mind, alacrity, and coup de grace. Because I think that Legion alacrity with coup de grace is really good with lethal tempo and or conquer if you go that. I just think fleet footwork is just worse because you have grasp of the undying that I'll be talking about soon. So yeah, lethal tempo is one. Presence of mind. Presence of mind is really good for the mana. You don't even need mana flow ban on the secondary. So you take that, you take Legion Alacrity. Now I always go Legion Alacrity. It's really, really good. It smoothes out Azir's auto attacks, because the few times that I do take that I don't take attack speed, like if I go primary domination, secondary sorcery, for example, there's no Legion Alacrity in those, so my attack speed is actually done. It's so hard to auto attack with Azir when you don't have Legend Alacrity with attack speed runes. Those are, in my opinion, really important, unless you go maybe Helpless, which I'm gonna talk about in a bit. So yeah, and then finally you go to coup de grace. I think it's none of these three are ideal because Azir doesn't have the oomph, the one shot potential that where coup de grace is good, or cut down or whatever. I think coup de grace is good because cut down is bad in my opinion, because Azir usually has enough health around mid game between like 2500 and 3000 depending on the build, but Azir has such high amount of health where cut down is not really that good for Azir specifically, unless you're going against Cho'Gath mid and Sion top, for goodness sakes. And then they'll be like, okay, maybe cut down will be good here, because you'll never be able to get them low enough health where coup de grace is good. And last stand if you're crazy, but you're a League of Legends player, you are crazy already. So, and then second, I really been having a lot of success with Resolve secondary, and here's why. Now follow me on this one. You have lethal tempo, which will make you attack a lot more, which will make you kind of like stand still a lot more. You have to auto move, auto attack and move, but you attack so much more where you become vulnerable. And I think I anecdotal data, by the way, where I feel like bone plating with either demolish or bone plating with overgrowth, or is just resolve secondary is really good in the where you need the extra survivability. So this is again where Azir is extremely good at doing a lot of things. So you could go demolish, it's really good. Demolish, bone plating. So first, demolish is really insane where you could go lethal tempo, push, and destroy the freaking tower. And then bone plating, so you could switch between bone plating, second wind, and conditioning. All three work, but you have to know exactly when you have to take them. Bone plating is when you're going against burst trade champions. For example, somebody who could deafen you, Fizz, Zed, LeBlanc, maybe Syndra even, or maybe Syndra goes second wing. That's still in debate. I don't know. But that's what bone plating is really good for. If, like for example, let's say Tristana jumps on you and you have bone plating, that will really suck up a lot of damage. That will keep you up in lane so much more. Now, second wind, I really haven't been taking second wind a lot, because second wind is really good when you're consistently fighting or when you have D shield, but Azir never really takes D shield in my opinion. So I think this is my least used rune right here. So then I go conditioning. Conditioning is really good conditionally when you're playing against a boring lane. Aurelion Sol, Vigar, a tank in the mid lane, that's when you take condition, because you really won't need neither of bone plating or second wind. You just go conditioning, and then you just scale up and get armor and Amar, and you get the percentage increase of armor and Amar by 3%, which is really freaking nice. So Azir becomes tankier. Now we have to take one of those three. Okay, you can't skip on one of those. They're really important, which means that you could switch out bone demolish with the third row. You could either go overgrowth, don't go revitalize. Revitalize is troll, don't do that, it doesn't work with Azir. Or you could go unflinching. I keep looking to my side because I want to make sure that I'm recording and my audio's going, which it is, thankfully. So when do you go those three bottom here? So if you think you're not gonna be able to use demolish effectively throughout the game, you could go overgrowth, which will give you a lot of health. Overgrowth is really good when combined with Liandry's and Riftmaker. You get the health, you get the shred, you just get tankier. Or you could go unflinching. So unflinching is really insane with bone plating or conditioning, either or. Unflinching gives you armor and more when you get dove on, pretty much, or when you get CC'd, actually I should say. It's really good into CC champs, like champs who have built-in CC into their basic kit, like LeBlanc. That's all I could think of. My mind, I don't know who else. Maybe like Galio? Zoe? That's maybe it. That's when unflinching becomes good. I don't take it a lot because Azir is safe enough where he doesn't need the unflinching. I guess it's good if you want to go mercs with unflinching. They get a ton of armor and MR, and you know, with the mercs, forgot what the word is. Okay, and you always go, regardless of rune page, you always go attack speed, adaptive force, and health. Health scaling, it's just is. And as I was saying, Azir is extremely diverse. So you could be like, all right, Mo, I don't want to go resolves. Okay, that's fine. You can go sorcery. You could do mana flow, transcendence. But you don't need, in my opinion, you don't need mana flow. So you could just go straight scaling, because Lethal Temple scales really well. So you go Transcendence, Gathering Storm, and you're insane. But you won't have a lot of survivability in lane, which you gotta be very careful and smart about. So that's where Resolve gives you that easy lane mode. That's why I kind of moved away from Sorcery second and more into Resolve. It's just really good. Now, if you're niche, you could try out Inspiration. I haven't played with Inspiration enough to know how good it is, but Again, that's up to testing. Azir is very, very, he could use everything except Domination Secondary. You're trolling if you go Domination Secondary. I don't know why, it just feels like troll. All right, now Domination. Hail of Blades, the infamous Hail of Blades. It still works. It's still really, really good. Conditionally, remember, conditionally. It's only good when you have team comps that you go against who are squishy and who cannot just, well, they could dev on you if you want, but in general, like, they're all squishy. Or they have just one bruiser or something. If they have like squishy bot lane, like ADC and support, and squishy mid laner, squishy jungler, that's where you take Hail of Blades and you pretty much just kill them, right? Because it's really, really good. Now it gets iffy where your team doesn't have a front line, so it kind of becomes awkward when you go Hail of Blades and your team doesn't have a front line for you to be protected by. That's where it gets shady, gray area. That's where you switch between like grasp and this, but we'll talk about it in a bit as well. But let's focus on this one. So you could go Hail of Blades, very powerful into squishy mid laners, or melee squishy mid laners like Zed, Fizz, even LeBlanc, for example. If you want to be saucy, go to other mages that are like short range or mid range. But Hail of Blades, I mostly take it into team comps that are made of Zed, Fizz, squishy bot lane, squishy jungler like Viego or Graves for that. So that's where it's really good. Now, I used to go cheap shot, but that's troll. I don't do cheap shot anymore. I just go Taste of Blood because Taste of Blood heals you for 16 to 40, scaling with AP and AD. But the 16 to 40 is really good. It has 20-second cooldown, which is not too bad, but it gives you that extra form of sustain where you don't have to use a pot, for example. And that's really the best out of the three in my opinion. Cheap shot I feel like it wouldn't do much for me unless I'm going full on early game Azir with cheap shot, for secondary Scorch with Ignite. But at that point, you're putting so much to early game. The moment you screw up, it's kind of, you're screwed for the rest of that game. It's just, I feel like it's not that good. Scorch wouldn't do much after laning phase. But Scorch is important though, but that's for another topic. So yeah, go Taste of Blood. And then for the fourth row, you could go Eyeball Collection, Ghost Portal, or Zombie Ward. Me as more of a laid back Azir player who doesn't, go crazy on the plays in lane, I like to go Ghost Portal because I like to ward from a jungler, like to ward in lane, and Ghost Portal just gives you that innate adaptive, AD or AP for Azir. But it's really good. I usually don't go Eyeball Collection because I probably won't be killing all the champions, especially in the early to mid game, especially their top laner. I don't really go and kill their top laner that early into the game anyway. So I just feel like getting Ghost Portal is a lot safer, a lot more efficient, because you'll be getting your AP immediately, like more consistently than Eyeball Collection. It just feels a lot more riskier to take Eyeball Collection, in my opinion. And we want consistent results, not risky results. And then finally, you could go, for me, you could go Ingenious Hunter. Ingenious Hunter is, in my opinion, the best out of all four, because with Hail of Blades, which I'll be talking about builds later, Ingenious Hunter lowers your item haste. It gives you item haste, which means that usually with Hail of Blades, I'll show you in the builds in a bit, you go Zanya's, you could go Lichbane as well. It lowers your item haste really well. You get like a 60-second Zanya's last time I remember with Ingenious Hunter. It's actually insane. But if you don't want Ingenious Hunter, which I highly recommend, you could go Relentless Hunter, which means that if you do side laning and you're shoving the wave, you could immediately go and help your team in the objectives or whatever with the move speed. Or you could go Ultimate Hunter, but I personally don't need Ultimate Hunter because you already have Transcendence that gives you ability haste. So Ingenious Hunter, in my opinion, is the best. And Treasure Hunter, you're not an assassin. You're not going to be able to, similar to Eyeball Collection, same thing. You won't be, it's risky. Excuse me. So, Sorcery, secondary. I feel like, what my anecdotal evidence is that Sorcery secondary with Domination is really, really good because you need the mana, and mana flow ban is really nice, and you want the Transcendence, in my opinion, for ability haste. Now you could argue they could go something like Precision with Presence of Mind and Alacrity, which is fine too. There is nothing wrong with that. I personally feel like, for me, I find more success in doing mana flow ban with Transcendence. I don't need the Legend Alacrity, especially when you're going Halo Blades. You'll get so much attack, like immediate attack, 3 hit attack speed, and plus you're doing Nashers anyway, so you're kind of, if you go, what I feel like, if you go Alacrity, you're spreading your power too thin between attack speed and yeah, I don't know. It just feels like Sorcery is better. So, yeah, well, yeah. It just feels nicer. And also, again, I know Guru, you can still experiment with the rest of them. So, yeah, let's move on. Don't save. Now, the saucy Grasp of the Undying. Currently the most popular rune on Azir everywhere. And it's still conditional. You can't go Grasp every game. It is not recommended that you go Grasp every game. You'll get screwed. So then the question becomes, when do you go Grasp of the Undying? When do you go Resolve Primary? Resolve Primary, you only go Grasp when there are 2 conditions. When your team doesn't have a front line, okay? You have a bunch of carries on your team, you need the Grasp because you're gonna be the one being tanking for your team. Grasp is really good here. And second, when the enemy team has an overwhelming amount of one type of damage, like 80% AP or 80% AD. Like for example, AD top, AD jungle, AD mid, or with obviously AD bot, or they have 1 AP and 4 AD, because you could build tank, which I'm going to show you in a bit. You can build tank, like one good type of damage to go against. But primarily, I've been having a lot of success when my team doesn't have a front line, and that's when I need to build tank with Grasp of the Undying. That is the #1 reason, followed by if the enemy team has one big overwhelming type of damage. So that's when it's really good. And you can also proc Grasp. Now, if you're going against somebody like Syndra, Orianna, longer range mages, melee skirmishers like Yasuo, Aurelia, I feel like Grasp would not be that good, because if you're going against mages, you won't be able to get in range of those mages to proc Grasp. And if you're going against somebody like Yasuo or Yone or stuff like that, Grasp is less efficient than other runes, but that means you need to have a front line to go into. It gets really complicated. The more you talk about it, the more I talk about it, the more and more it gets complicated. But anyway, you could go Grasp only when you don't have a front line for your team, and second priority is when the enemy team has one major form of damage. All right, but primarily when you don't have a front line. Okay. With that being said, let's move on. Demolish, obviously. Demolish is the best one. You wouldn't go any other thing. Bone plating, again, just like what I said in the secondary. Okay, so just like what I said earlier with the secondary resolve on my precision, you could go bone plating or second wind or conditioning. I don't recommend going second wind. It's not that useful into Azir, because Azir doesn't fight in melee range all the time. People who take second wind is like Yasuo with second wind, D-Shield, like Aurelia or something like that, or Kali or Katarina. But to restate what I said earlier, you can go bone plating into burst heavy mid laner, or you could go conditioning into a boring lane like Aurelion Soul, Vigar, a tank. You could use conditioning, which scales much better than bone plating. You need the bone plating for early survivability. Finally, you could most of the time you could go overgrowth. It's the best one of all three, because you'll be building tank, scaling health. With Overgrowth Grasp and with health items that you'll be building, you'll be reaching, like by the end of the game, you'll be having near 4,000 HP. It's actually ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous how good Overgrowth Grasp with health items are. Or if you're going against a lot of CC on the enemy team, you could go Unflinching. That's fine too. Secondary Precision. Now, Precision is really good here. It is the best because you're lacking attack speed in your primary rune. You're going Grasp. You don't have any attack speed on there. So you go Presence of Mind, Alacrity. That's really it. You need the mana for Presence of Mind, and you need the alacrity. That's really it. You can't wiggle around with those two. That's set. But if you want to be saucy, you could go sorcery with mana flow band and like transcendence, but you don't really need the transcendence because you'll be tanking damage, you'll be on top of your soldiers, you don't need the extra transcendence for more soldiers, you'll be set. So that, for me, this is the only like first primary rune, secondary rune that I would go for every time. Finally, the least picked rune page in my opinion. This one is, I don't ever go Comet, but I thought about it when I was building this and I'm like, when is Comet good? Comet is only good, very niche, it's only good into comps that are long range. Zoe, Xerath, Vel'Koz, Brain, for example, where Comet works, and that's really it. But again, it's not really that efficient in my opinion. I'd rather you just go lethal tempo and just shove him in. Other than that, that's the only reason why you go Arcane Comet, and obviously the normal mana flow band, Transcendence, and Scorch. I really gave up on Gathering Storm. For me, I don't really Gathering Storm anymore. Games are so fast where if you get the 4th item, you're pretty lucky. And again, secondary rune page, you play around with that. Presence of Mind, Alacrity, or you could go something like Resolve or Domination, but this is a niche one that I just came up with, or not came up with, sorry, it's been around, but that's the only one I can think of. Builds. All right, so builds. When I was making this, I'm like, should I make this very complicated or should I not make it complicated? How in depth do I want to be? So every build I wrote precision, which is what it goes with, what rune page it goes with, and why. So this is the precision build for the precision tree. And this is your normal AP build into immobile champions, specifically mobile champions. And there's a good reason why. So you go D-Ring. I only go D-Ring. I don't go Darksteel. I don't go what is this one? The Sapphire Crystal for mana. I don't really do it. Doran's Ring is just really, really good of a starting item to the point where it's even kind of sucky to sell. Like, it's so good, I would keep this item and not even sell it to get my other items. It's that good of a starting item. I don't think people realize how good it is. I have been having a lot of success with going immediately tier 2 boots. Tier 2 boots, I feel like are slept on, like first item tier 2 boots, because once you get tier 2 boots, you could do so much in the map early on, and early game is so impactful in the game right now. Tier 2 boots help you 1v1 your opponent, 2v2 your jungler, roam to bot lane, get to lane faster, dodge skill shots better. It's such a good item, and I'm okay with skipping my full item, which I'm gonna talk about in a bit, for tier 2 boots. Now, 98% of the time I would go Sorks. I will tell you about the 2% where I don't, which is very, very rare. All right, so first item, obviously is gonna be Gnasher's Tooth. Gnasher's Tooth is such a good item on Azir. It is hard to argue against anything else as your first item. Like, you could be like, oh, Rod of Ages first item, oh, Archangel Staff first item. No. Azir, you see AP, you see attack speed, you see haste, that's Azir. And you get the on hit, of course, at 50%, but nothing else needs to be said. Gnasher's Tooth, insane. You just go Gnasher's Tooth first item. Second item, this is where diversity comes in with items. It's really, really up to you. For me, I personally, like almost all the time, I go Lichbane. Lichbane is really, really good of an item because it gives you AP, movement speed for you to walk. Movement speed is really important on Azir in my opinion. It's so important to just live, survive. And ability haste, gives you ability haste, where Shadow Flame does not give you ability haste. It gives you 120 AP and 12 magic penetration with the crit at low health. But that's conditional. You don't go Shadow Flame if the enemy team is just bulky, you know, or their health does not go down that quickly. Lichbane gives you the proc, which is really, really good for that upfront burst, and you have lethal tempo as well. I just think Lichbane is so much better. Third item, the usual. You could go, if they're not building any resistances, like heavy resistances, you could go Death Cap, and if they are, you could go Void Staff. And fourth item, if the game gets that long, that's when you go either or. Now, the reason why I didn't slot in items like Zanya's or Banshees, because that's up to you. That is up to you. when you go those items. I don't recommend going first item Zanyas or Banshees, in my opinion. You need Nashers. It's really good on Azir, but that's up to you when you go either or both. Hey, this is League of Legends, do whatever the hell you want. But for me, if the enemy team is, they have a lot of AD on the enemy team, I usually go second item Zanyas. And if they're head, I go second item Zanyas. That's the thing. If they're head and they're AD or full AP, either or, that's when you go one or the other. So yeah, that's really the build. Those three items right here, and you can switch between those two and the fourth. So that's for precision. Second one's for the Hail of Blades squish champs. You go Hail of Blades when, as I said earlier, when the enemy team is squishy, they're in your range 90% of the time. Again, the first three items are always the same for me. I go Deer Ring and Tier 2 boots. Azir is already complicated enough with his items and runes where this is the simplicity right here. You could go Sorks, always Sorks, especially Hail of Blades, always Sorks. And here is where the one time I'd be like, you could diversify in your first item. You could go Nashers if you want. Nashers, again, as I said earlier, amazing item, just really good on Azir overall. Or you could go Luden's Companion for the burst, but you're giving up on attack speed. But you have it on Hail of Blades. So it's up to you on what you want to, which one you want, Nashor's Tooth or Luden's Companion. But for me personally, I would take Nashor's Tooth over Luden's because Nashor's gives you the ability haste. Well, what Luden's gives you the ability haste too. What I'm saying is Nashor's give you the attack speed to shove in waves easier as well, and the on hit. On hit is really needed, or it's important Azir. It's part of Azir's kit, so you're missing out on the on hit and the attack speed. But if you're strictly wanting to tell your opponent that you're not gonna exist in 2 seconds, Luden's Companion is fine too. And second item, always. If you're even or ahead, I'm saying that always, you Lich Bane. Lich Bane is the burning butter for Hail of Blades. Hail of Blades with Nashor's Tooth or Luden's and Lich Bane is the ultimate build for that rune page. Now, again, I did not include Zanyas or Banshees because that's game preference. That's up to you when you need to go for it. But never go Zanyas or any survivability item in your first item slot. Don't. That will ruin Azir's early game, in my opinion. And third item, you go Rabidons. Rabidons is obviously the most normal slot you could go for. Or if you want to do something weird, like you go, I don't know, Shadow Flame, but Shadow Flame is not really like, the AP on Rabidons is really, really good. Shadow Flame is good, maybe second item instead of the Lich Bane because you'll be bursting them so hard that Shadow Flame goes into effect, especially with Luden's. So maybe, I just thought about this, maybe you could go Luden's, Shadow Flame, and Rabidons. GG, well played. And maybe a Lich Bane as well. But yeah, that's the Hellblaze build for me. Now, Grasp. I love Grasp with the Undying. The build specifically is hilarious. I have been winning so much with this. So again, 3 items, same thing. You go Sorks, Doran's Ring, obviously 2 health pots, okay? First item, always, as I said earlier, always go Leandri's Torment. I forgot the name of the item. This has when you're ADHD and you're talking a lot. Leandri's Torment, first item, really, really important on Azir because it gives you health, it gives you the damage, and it gives you the damage amp because you won't be building a damage item until later on to the game. So you're like, okay, what do you build next? Yeah, you already know. Either Frozen Heart or Abyssal Mask. So you can go Frozen Heart into a full 8, like if they have a lot of AD, like AD jungle, AD mid, you go Frozen Heart, okay? Now if they have double AP, AP jungler, AP mid, you could go Abyssal Mask. And then you could finish it off with the other one that you haven't built. If you go Frozen Heart, you obviously go Abyssal Mask, vice versa. So that's really when you go. Now you don't, if the enemy comp is mostly AD, then you could skip on the, like you go first item Frozen Heart and skip on the Abyssal Mask because it's kind of a useless item if they don't have if they don't have an AP threat, or vice versa. Again, if they have a lot of AP but not a lot of AD, then you can just skip on the Frozen Heart. Or you could double dip into magic resistances if they're full AP. You could go Abyssal Mask, Banshees, or you could go, if they're full AD, you could go Frozen Heart, Zanyas. Here, let me put it in. You could go that, oh, right here. Okay, So the build path will be like, if they're full AD, you could go, and you're going Grasp, you could go Liandry's, Frozen Heart, Zanya's, and you're literally a tank. It's ridiculous how tanky you get. Or you could go Abyssal Mask into Banshees, and you're still a tank. It's ridiculous how ridiculous it sounds. It's so fun, but tank items are really BS right now. And then finally, you can go fourth item, Riftmaker. That's what I've seen everyone do. You go for a Riftmaker if it goes that long in the game. You go Riftmaker, because you don't need any more resistances on Azir. If you go any more, you're kind of wasting it because you're ranged anyway. So Riftmaker is just that good to more damage amp with Liandry's. So you're like, why don't you go Riftmaker second item? Well, then you'll be delaying your tank items, and we don't want that. And finally, if the game ever gets really late, you could go fifth item, up to you. This is where you could go whatever you like. You could go anything. You could go Nashers for more DPS. You could go Jackshow if you're crazy. You could go Zanya's late if you haven't built it, or Banshees, or Deathcap, or whatever your heart desires. The main part about this build is your 3 slots. Your Liandry's, your armor and armor or MR item, vice versa. All right, that's Grasp for you. These are the build. That's the build for it. This is what I build. This is what, if you want to copy it, go ahead. It's what everyone else has been doing, really, and it works. So I ain't no Einstein here. And finally, this is going back to precision. So this skips back to precision, but the difference here is if you go precision and they have a large health pool team comp. So if they're stacking health on the enemy team, a lot of health, where Lichbane is not that good, is Troll. This is where you go, same thing, Sorix, Doran's Ring, 2 health pots. And then you go first item, Nashers most of the time, or if they really stack in health early onto the game, you go Liandry's. And then you do the other one, Nashers. Nashers, Liandry's, or Liandry's, Nashers. That's up to you. And third item, you go Riftmaker to complement your Liandry's and Nashers, or if they're starting to build a lot of resistances, you go Voice Staff and then push your that is not Riftmaker, that is the orange version of Riftmaker. There we go. And then you can push it further. And the fourth item, Deathcap or Voice Staff or whatever. But the main 3 items, it's always the main 3 items, or the main 3 item slots for Azir is for, like, always for any rune pages, the first 3 item slots. And for Precision Tree, Lethal Tempo, and they have a lot of health on the enemy team, that's where you go Nashers, Liandry's, Nashers, you go Riftmaker. Those are the biggest 3 item slots. And again, you could slot in Zanya's or Banshees somewhere in there, as long as it's not your first item. First item, you need the Nashers or the Liandry's, all right? And I think that pretty much covers everything in terms of rune pages and builds for me. Unless some crazy new strategy comes up later, that is something that's really it. And if for, you know, you always go Flash Teleport. For me, you always go Flash Teleport. It's really teleport is just insane of a summoner spell. So you just need it. It's a cheat rune. It's a cheat summoner spell. I will never take Ignite anymore. I gave up on Ignite a long time ago. It's cheesy. It's bait. Yes, you'll get a couple kills, but it's bait. Exhaust. You don't need Exhaust. If you're gonna take Exhaust, just go Grasp with Tank. You don't need that. So Barrier, no one has taken Barrier in years. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed this video, this is my longest video that I ever made. My first informational video about Azir. Please like and subscribe and comment if you don't like any of this, and that's fine. If you find this very helpful, give me a thummies or just tell me how amazing I am and this video is the best video you've ever seen. And don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, I also have my Twitch channel that I stream on. All right, bye.